For about 3 years, the relationship between Glenn Beck and the company Goldline International has been profitable for everybody except the viewers and listeners. Mr. Beck uses his media platforms to stoke fear about the collapse of the paper money economy. He urges his audience to buy gold and then directs their business to Goldline, which in turn pays him lots of money. Our third story today, Congressman Anthony Weiner says Goldline customers are being fleeced by Beck's sponsor, and Beck is calling Anthony Weiner a modern-day Joe McCarthy. It's about the 75th person he's called that. The congressman joins me presently. This afternoon in New York, Mr. Weiner announced the findings of an investigation into Goldline. His report stating the company charges an average of a 90% markup on all its coins, and that by calling that overcharge a good investment, the company is breaking the law. The congressman alleges the company uses high-pressure sales tactics to bilk customers. Weiner also claims there is an unholy alliance between conservative commentators and Goldline International.
Goldline has as paid endorsers Glenn Beck, Fred Thompson, Dennis Miller, Mark Levin, Laura Ingraham, Lars Larson, Michael Schumer-Smith, Monica Crowley, and Mike Huckabee, among others. And what we have found by looking through the public records is that very often they use their public programs to advocate purchasing gold, and then immediately advertisements begin for Goldline.
Today, conservative talk show radio host Michael Smerconish told Politico that Goldline canceled ads on his show because he wasn't conservative enough. Last December, Peter Epstein, president of Merit Financial Services, told Politico that gold companies expect favorable coverage from commentators on whose shows they pay to advertise. The quote, "You pay anybody on any network and they say what you pay them to say, they're bought and sold." This morning on his bought and sold radio show, Glenn Beck pre-butted the congressman's news conference with his ever-evolving conspiracy theory.
This is, again, another arm of this administration coming out to try to shut me down. This is absolutely incredible. Is there anybody that is going to say anything in the press at any time if you stand up against this White House? They have three, count them, three advisors of this president that have launched official campaigns boycotting my sponsors. Any sponsor that stays with me, now they're targeting through. You want to talk about the McCarthy era? Look at what this country is becoming.
Father Coughlin available on many of your local radio sets. For its part, Goldline tells Politico it is not political. And even though Glenn Beck says nobody did anything wrong, he still had the Goldline CEO on his radio show this morning to testify.
How long have you been a sponsor in this program?
I believe it's been about 3 years.
Do you remember a time when we had a conversation at the beginning where I don't treat our customers, if you don't treat my customers, my listeners, with respect, it isn't going to end well for you?
Yes.
Yes. Do you believe me when I said that to you?
Yes.
Okay.
I take you very seriously.
As promised, we're joined from Washington by Representative Anthony Weiner. Thanks for your time, Congressman.
Thank you, Keith.
Are you or have you ever been involved in a conspiracy to take down Glenn Beck? Can you explain the genesis of your interest in this matter?
Well, I never intended this to be a battle of wits with Glenn Beck. As you know, he comes only half prepared to that battle. This really is about the consumers of Goldline's products, and many of them take the rhetorical excesses of the Glenn Beck and his like when they talk up gold and then immediately go to the advertisements to get ripped off. There's no other way to put it. When you're advertising you're going to invest in gold and you wind up getting sometimes 200%, it's charged 200% more than the melt value of gold, that's just a bad deal. The only way for you to keep up is for the cost of gold to go up 200% before you put down the phone. So that's really where this comes from, and it also comes from this is not an unusual thing. Whenever the economy makes people unsure, they're susceptible to pitches like this, and unfortunately Glenn Beck says he's looking out for his listeners. In fact, he's deceiving them badly when they buy these products.
But explain the scam here, because there are a lot of scams, there are a lot of bad investment scams, and certainly there are a lot of Glenn Beck scams. Where is the crime per se in this?
Well, the crime occurs not so much what Glenn Beck does, although I do believe that there are questions that his station, whether it's radio station or Fox News, has to answer about whether or not, even in the context of commentary, you should be having this blurring of lines between advertisement and news. But the problem comes when Goldline actually makes representations that this is a good investment. I want to say for your viewers, gold may be a good investment, it may not be. A lot of people, like some of the people who've talked about the worst of the bubble, have said that the coming gold bubble. But putting that aside for a moment, these gold sellers are not supposed to be offering advice like that. And according to at least the Missouri Attorney General, that's exactly what they've done. And Goldline settled for a pretty hefty amount, essentially pleading guilty to that charge.
All right, so you investigated it. What do you do now?
Well, I think that we need to do a couple of things. One, it's clear the Federal Trade Commission and the Securities and Exchange Commission, both of which have rules against what Goldline, the types of thing Goldline does, I'm asking them to take a good hard look at that, at them and some of the other dealers who are doing similar things. Secondly, I believe that we should have legislation that makes some of the disclosures much clearer. If Goldline is going to make a claim about its prices, right there on the advertisement should be what the gold melt price is. It should have some explanation of how much it has to go up for citizens to be able to break even on these investments. The same kind of requirement that are required when you purchase an equity or a stock on Wall Street.
The thing, obviously, from my vantage point that concerns me more than anything else is the quote from the first Politico story on it, not the one today about your investigation, but the one they did in December with the Merit Financial Services person who noted that commentators can be bought and sold, and they're expected to say things that will help in the body of the broadcast, not merely announcements, which is a part and parcel of radio and television since the beginning. But is there anything to do about that doesn't then sort of infringe on free speech, or at least the broadcasting equivalent of free speech?
Well, probably from the perspective of a congressman, probably not. But if you are watching a television show dedicated to health, and someone says you should drink as much soda as you can all throughout the day because it's good for you, and then the very same guy is advocating for Coke or Pepsi in the ad, you would scratch your head. This is just as much offensive, except maybe even more so because you're dealing with people's nest eggs.
And that's that one lobbyist, I've forgotten which name it is, Rick Berman. Congressman Anthony Weiner, the Democrat from New York, as always, great. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Keith.